Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Alex Driscoll again from Sweet Georgia Sports coming at you today with the Atlanta Braves 2018 Top 10 Positional Prospects. And when I say positional prospects, it's any prospect other than a pitcher. And I'm really, really sorry that it's coming out later than I said. If you interacted with me on Reddit or Instagram or anything, I fell under the weather a little bit. My voice was like death. I wasn't feeling too good. Thank the Lord it wasn't the flu, but I just wasn't feeling too good, and I sounded like death. So that's why it wasn't out earlier than expected. But nonetheless, still doing it. I know it's a little bit late, but here we go. So coming in at number 10 to start things off is going to be Dustin Peterson. Dustin Peterson is a 23-year-old outfielder. He bats right-handed, he throws right-handed, and he was acquired in a trade. I believe it was the Justin Upton deal back in 2014, and he spent this season in AAA Gwinnett all season. And his slash line, and I know slash line for some people is your average, your on base, and your slugging, but for me, I'm more of an advanced analytical guy. I go average, on base, and OPS, which is your on base plus slugging. And so this year for Dustin Peterson, it wasn't anything to write home about. It was 248 average, 318 on base, and a 636 OPS. He only had one home run. He drove in 30 runs. He struck out 22.5% of the time. He walked 7.8% of the time. His isolated power index was 0.070, so basically 0.70, or actually 0.7. And then his WRC plus, his runs created plus, which is how well he creates runs. In league average at any league, whether it's T-ball, the major leagues, is set at 100, and he came in at 80, so he was well below average right there. But his fielding percentage was at 988. So here's the scouting report and his outlook. He has a plus contact and hit tool. He's always been able to hit. He's been more of an offensive-minded outfielder coming up through the minor league ranks. Whenever he was with the Padres coming up to begin his career, or when he transitioned with the Braves. He did have plus power. He had a plus grade on his power last year, or coming into 2017, but now coming into 2018, it's in okay. And I have an equal up on the screen, and that means okay. But the main thing is it could bounce back due to him having a hamate injury, and that's a bone in your hand that if it gets hurt or broke, it basically saps all your power. He doesn't move very well. He has a minus in speed. He has a pretty good glove, as evidenced by his 988 fielding percentage, and his arm isn't that great. He'll most likely, if he even makes it to the major leagues, if he bounces back, he'll probably be a bench outfielder, a fourth outfielder, and he'll probably be in left. Peterson, he's probably the most unluckiest person on this list since he was on the Carolina Mudcats bus wreck of 2015. And then he was set to be called up last season, or he was in a really, really good spot to be called up last season after he had a really good 2016 season. But a broken hamate bone injury set him back drastically in 2017. Hopefully he can bounce back and get that power back, because if that's the case, DPD could make a pretty good bench bat in the future. So moving on from Dustin Peterson, in at number 9 is a guy that you probably haven't even heard about. He's probably the best Braves prospect that you haven't heard about, and you need to hear about him, and that is Giancarlo Encarnacion. He's 20 years old. He plays third. He throws right-handed, bats right-handed, and he's one of the lone survivors from the infamous international free agent class of 2016. And he spent this year at rookie ball at both rookie ball teams, the GCL Braves and the Danville Braves. For this year, his slash line was 321, 346, and 811. He had 3 home runs, drove in 22 runs. He struck out 21% of the time, right on the dot at 21%, but he only walked 3.4% of the time. He had a pretty good ISO at 139, and he had a pretty solid weighted runs created plus at 122. His fielding could be a bit better for an infielder at 951 fielding percentage. His scouting report, he has a plus hit in contact tool. He has okay power. It's a better gap to gap power thing. And as he grows and fills out more into his body, that power will grow. Mainly when you're looking at prospects, the power comes last with these type of guys. He has okay speed. He's not going to blaze by you or anything. He has very good instincts. He has an okay glove, and he has a very, very, very good arm. He can zip it on over from the hot corner at third. As he was one of the lone survivors in the 2016 international free agent class. JCE had a very, very solid full season debut in 2017. He's still learning at the plate. He has some learning to do, and as well as developing some power. But he's a very solid athlete, and he'll grow into his body, and he should develop into a solid corner infield prospect. Stay on the lookout for this kid because he could rise up like Cristian Pache has. And this year, I'm not calling him Cristian Pache. I'm just saying he could rise like Cristian Pache has. And moving on from JCE, coming in at number 8, is a very familiar name, and that is Travis Demeritte. Travis Demeritte is 23. He really plays all over the infield. Except for first base, he's middle infielder, second short, third base. There's right-handed bats, right-handed. Acquired via a trade in 2016. I believe we sent Dario Alvarez and Lucas Harrell and some cash to the Rangers for Travis Demeritte, and he spent all this season in AA Mississippi. Slash line was anything to write home about at 231, 306, and 708. The OPS was okay, not great. His home runs, he had 15 home runs, and he drove in 45 runs. He struck out 26.2% of the time and walked 9.6% of the time. He had a very, very good ISO at 170. He was right around league average at creating runs at 105, and then his fielding percentage for a guy that's supposed to be seen as a fielder, it was okay as at a cumulative fielding percentage. It was at 949. His scattering point, he has a minus contact hit tool. It's not great. He has a long swing. There's some holes in it, and at this point, I don't really see where he could work that out. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But the thing for Travis Demeritte, though, is that he has a lot of power. When he actually makes contact, the ball pops off his bat and goes a very long way. He's a solid athlete, has pretty good mobility, pretty good speed. He has a plus glove and a plus arm. After having a great year and showing a solid ability to get on base in 2016, Travis Demeritte took a step back in 2017. I actually went to a Birmingham Barons game because I live just south of Birmingham here in Alabama, and the Mississippi Braves were playing the Barons, and this is probably one of the worst nights for baseball I'd ever been. And it was early May. It was like 40-something degrees, 50-something degrees, and it was just raining, and the wind was blowing. It was miserable. And, of course, as a former player myself, when it's raining, it is very, very hard to pick up the ball. And on that night, he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. But he looked really, really good in the field. Really hoping that he can learn to get on base more. Because if not, he'll probably just be a bench glove type of player or a pinch runner type of player. Dude is pretty good speed. So moving on from Travis Demeritte, coming in at number 7 is Drew Waters. Drew Waters is 19. He's an outfielder. He's a switch hitter, and he throws right-handed. He was drafted this past year in 2017 in the second round and was 41st overall. He spent this season with the 2 rookie teams, the GCL Braves and the Danville Braves. He had a pretty solid slash line at 278, 362, and 791. He hit 4 bombs, drove in 24 RBIs. He had a high K rate at 31.3, and he walked at a good rate at 10.3. He had a pretty good ISO at .152, and he had a WRC plus of 143 and had a respectable fielding percentage of 959. His scattering point and outlook is a plus contact and hit tool. He's a switch hitter, and he really has a pretty good approach at the plate, and he can just spray from either side. He has okay power. Again, power comes later with most of these guys. He has more power from the left side, I believe, when I was watching some video on him when he got drafted. But power does come later. He has plus speed. He has plus speed, a plus glove, and an okay arm, and that will develop too as he grows up. He's a hometown kid. He went to Etowah High School, And he had a good debut season with both rookie teams. He has tools and athleticism for days, and that will actually probably help him in the very near future as he climbs the ranks of the Braves farm system. Still very raw. He'll grow in his body, but I think he'll develop into a solid player in due time. And his former high school coach, who was actually Dexter Fowler's former high school coach as well, compared him to Dexter Fowler. And that is actually a very good comp. I really don't get into comps later until players hit like AA, AAA. But that's actually a good comp for Drew Waters right now. So moving on from Drew Waters, we're going to come in at number 6, and that is Brett Cumberland. Brett Cumberland is 22. He's a catcher and an outfielder. He also bats switch-handed, and he throws right-handed. He was drafted in 2016 in the second CBA round. He was 76 overall. He spent this year with 3 teams, 2 domestic and 1 foreign. In the winter, he spent time with Low A Rome and High A Florida, and then he went to the Australian Baseball League and played for the Melbourne Aces. His slash line, a 274 batting average, very solid there, in a awesome 409 on base percentage, and his OPS was very, very good at 914. He had 19 home runs, 84 RBIs. He struck out 27.1% of the time, walked 11.1% of the time, and he had an awesome ISO at all 3 levels, or actually at Low A and High A. I couldn't find the ISO for the Australian Baseball League, but at Low A and High A, he had an awesome ISO at 230, and also he had a WRC plus of 152, and his cumulative fielding percentage was at 907, so he could be a bit better with the glove. His scouting report and outlook: he has an okay contact and hit tool. He has good power. It's more gap-to-gap power. He has minus speed. He's not going to blow you away. He's a catcher. What do you expect? Most catchers aren't really that fast. He has an okay glove and catching skills. And when I say catching skills, I mean like framing, receiving a pitch, blocking, etc., all that good stuff. And he has an okay arm. He had a stellar campaign here in the U.S. and then in the Australian Baseball League with the Melbourne Aces. He probably has the best on-base skills out of any prospect in Atlanta's system, and that's something he'll probably have to rely on, as he's probably not going to blow you away with his hit tool. He could use more defensive developing, but is fine for right now. He reminds me a lot of Tyler Flowers, because Tyler Flowers really doesn't blow you away with his contact and his hits, but he has great on-base skills. He gets hit a lot, which is actually a pretty good skill, and he sees the strike zone very well. And that's what Brett Cumberland does, and he is definitely a sleeper prospect. So here we go into the top 5, and number 5 is a guy that wasn't even on the list or an honorable mention guy this year. He just had this great of a season, and that is William Contreras. He's a 20-year-old catcher. He bats right-handed and then throws right-handed. And he was signed as an international free agent in 2015, and he spent all of this season with the rookie team up in Danville. He had a very, very solid slash line at 290, 379, and 811. He had 4 home runs, 25 RBIs. He struck out only 15.2% of the time, and he walked 12.1% of the time. Had a pretty good ISO at 142, had a solid weighted runs created plus at 121, and had a respectable fielding percentage at 982. Here's a scouting report. He has a plus contact and hit tool. He has okay power. It's more gap-to-gap power. And that's something with the Braves positional prospects that you'll see. They have more gap-to-gap power than actual like raw power and light tower power, as they say. He has okay speed. It's not great, but it's pretty good for a catcher. He has okay glove and catching skills, but it could become a plus in 2018, and he has a plus arm. He's actually the younger brother of Cubs star catcher Wilson Contreras. William, though, is following in his brother's footsteps as he jumped up and on many Braves prospects lists due to his play in recent seasons, and especially this season. He has a very advanced approach at the plate for his age, due to him only having 30 strikeouts and 169 at-bats to go along with, and a very impressive 24 walks. He could hop into the top 3 or 4 once Ronald Acuna graduates. So moving on from Contreras. Coming in at number 4, it's going to be Alex Jackson. Alex Jackson is a 22-year-old catcher. He throws right-handed, bats right-handed, and he was acquired in a trade in 2016. He spent time with 3 teams this year. He spent time in High A, Florida, and then was called up to Double A, Mississippi, and then he was sent to the Arizona Fall League with the Peoria Javelinas. He had a pretty good slash line. It was 266, 326, and an 800 on the dot OPS. He had 24 home runs. He drove in 81 RBIs, struck out 26.4% of the time, and only walked 5.5% of the time. Had a very good ISO at 217. Had a solid weighted runs created plus at 129, and had a respectable fielding percentage at 979. He has an okay contact hit tool. His swing's kind of long, but it's very fluid. It's okay. It won't blow you away. He has plus power, and with this power, it's light tower power. He has great home run, great raw power. He doesn't have that great of speed, but he's actually very sneaky quick. He has okay catching skills and needed a bit more development. He has a very good arm, and he's a plus video game player. I know I have that. That doesn't have any influence on his rank here, but at Chalk Fest, went to Chalk Fest in late January, early February, and I got to play him in MLB The Show, and he beat me 1-0 in 3 innings, and he was an awesome guy to talk to, great personality, absolutely loved my time. It was like 15 minutes with Alex Jackson just playing some video games. But after coming over from the Mariner system, he's seen a lot of progression as he's transitioned back to being a full-time catcher. Even at 22, he's still a work in progress, but if he develops right, he could become a power-hitting, offensive-minded catcher at the MLB level. And so here we go into the top 3. Coming in at number 3, it's going to be Austin Riley. Austin Riley is a 20-year-old third baseman who throws right-handed and bats right-handed, and he's drafted in 2015 in the first CBA round and 41st overall. He spent time with High A, Florida, Double A, Mississippi, and he also played for the Peoria Javelinas in the Arizona Fall League. Had a pretty good slash line at 276, 342, and 878. Had 26 home runs, drove in 92 RBIs, struck out 23.4% of the time, walked 7.5% of the time, and had a insane ISO at 237 and a very, very solid weighted runs created plus at 136, and his fielding percentage was better than it has been in past years at 939. His scouting report. He has an okay contact and hit tool. His swing is a bit long, but it is insanely quick. He has plus power. His light tower power with added in with some good gap to gap power. He's not the fastest on the field because he's a really big kid. He's not going to blow you away with the speed. He has an okay glove, was a minus initially, but has vastly improved in recent years, and he has a very, very good arm. He had a stellar first full season in 2016, but his coming out party was this year in 2017. He struggled a bit to start off in High A, but quickly found his groove and was promoted to Double A. The front office then sent him to the Arizona Fall League to get more at-bats against better pitching, and he did not disappoint, as literally over half of his hits in the Arizona Fall League went for extra bases. He's a physical specimen, armed with long but a very, very quick swing that has a ton of pop in it. So moving on from Austin Riley, coming in at number 2 is Cristian Pache. Cristian Pache is a 19-year-old outfielder, throws right-handed, bats right-handed, and he was signed as an international free agent in 2015, and he spent all of this year with Low A Rome. Slash line this year, it was okay. He had a 279 batting average, 333 on base, and a 674 OPS. He didn't hit a home run, but he did drive in 42 RBIs, struck out 20.2% of the time, walked 7.6% of the time. For him, it's okay for an ISO. It was at .062. He was right below league average, just hovering around league average with his weighted runs created plus at 98, and his fielding percentage was at 981. He has a plus contact and hit tool. He has an okay power tool, but wait for the light tower power to come in. He has good gap-to-gap power. He has plus speed. He can burn on the base paths. He's a straight burner. Plus glove. He probably has the, well, not probably. He does have the best glove in all of minor league baseball. And just based off his glove alone, he could be the fourth outfielder on the MLB team right now. And he has a plus arm, as he had 17 assists, or 17 guys that he threw out from center field alone in 2017. He's probably the fastest riser on any list you'll see. He's even higher than 2017 first overall pick Royce Lewis on Fangraphs prospect list. Based on purely defense, he is MLB ready right now, but he still has to develop better power and a more refined approach at the plate. But he's still an amazing player and prospect, and with Cristian Pache, think a right-handed Ender Inciarte with a bit more pop to come. Before we get to number one, here's two honorable mention guys, and those are Israel Wilson. Keep an eye out for him, and then Anthony Seymour. So, coming in at number one, it really shouldn't be a surprise, and that is Ronald Acuna. He's 20 years old. He plays the outfield. He bats right-handed, throws right-handed, signed as an international free agent in 2014, spent time with 4 teams this year. High A Florida, Double A Mississippi, Triple A Gwinnett, and the Arizona Fall League, where he won the Arizona Fall League MVP. Outstanding slash line. 325, 378, 1.234 OPS. Outstanding for Ronald Acuna on the slash line alone. Had 28 home runs, had 98 RBIs, struck out 23.3% of the time, walked 7.7% of the time, had an off-the-charts ISO of 301. His weighted runs created plus was 152 and had a solid fielding percentage at 980. His scattering report and outlook, plus contact and hit, insanely quick with swing with an even more bat speed. Plus power, it's more gap to gap power, but still has a ton of light tower power. He has plus speed. It's not a plus. It's just really good speed. Not a plus. He has a plus glove and a plus arm. He had 8 total assists this year. Really, it was just a foregone conclusion on this one. Ronald Acuna is the consensus number one prospect in all of baseball, and for good reason why. He possesses all 5 tools, all of which are a plus, if not a plus. I really can't say enough good things about Ronnie Baseball, and I hope to make it to a game this season to see him with my own eyes when he gets called up to Atlanta. It's not an if, but when he gets called up this year. And he really has superstar written all over him. And so that is going to do it for the top 10 positional prospects list here. If you like the video, give a big thumbs up. Like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever. On Instagram, tell us what your list would be if you're viewing it on Reddit or saw it through Reddit. Don't be afraid to comment on it as well. Just be nice in the comment section. Don't call me a dumb idiot or a dumbass or anything like that. Just be nice, and I'm willing for a good, healthy debate. So with that being said, I've been Alex Driscoll saying chop on, and God bless Atlanta.